I welcome you personally to this video because you have such eagerness to see the real picture of Jesus. This is not a clickbait. I can assure you that you will see the real picture of Jesus in the end of this video. In Hebrews 10 verse 5, it says, "Therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, 'Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, a body you have prepared for me.'" Christ is forever, and before he came into the world, he was with Father and came from Father. So while he was on earth, he had a physical form which was prepared by God the Father so that he may be sacrificed. That was a temporary body which Christ carried on earth so that he can give salvation to his children. I will show you 3 incidents which occurred immediately after the resurrection of Jesus that the disciples could not recognize him. As his human form and nature was different, he was never the same. Number 1, in John 20 verses 11 to 18, it says, "Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw 2 angels in white, seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, 'Woman, why are you crying?' 'They have taken my Lord away,' she said, 'and I don't know where they have put him.' At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, 'Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?' Thinking he was the gardener, she said, 'Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him.' Jesus said to her, 'Mary.' She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, 'Rabboni.' Only after Jesus called her name by his old tone, she could recognize that it was Jesus. Number 2, in John 21 verses 4 to 7, it says, "Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, 'Friends, haven't you any fish?' 'No,' they answered. He said, 'Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some.' When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, 'It is the Lord.' As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, 'It is the Lord,' he wrapped his outer garment around him and jumped into the water. Number 3, in Luke 24 verses 13 to 35, it says, "Now that same day 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him." And verse 30 says, "When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight." So of all these incidents, what Jesus wants us to know and what lesson we can learn from this? Jesus Christ registered a clear note that he made equal ground for all of us. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 16 says, "Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, now we no longer know him in this way." So right after the resurrection, Jesus had a new form and nobody could realize that it was him. Jesus knew that the future generation will try to practice and make images and statues of him, and they will start adore and worship it. We should never do it. Even the first commandment says, "You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them." When Satan tempted, Jesus himself reiterated that the scriptures say, "You must worship the Lord your God and serve only him." For this reason he was so much aware that we should never do this, and he also said in John 4 verse 24 that, "God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth." When ascending, Jesus said, "I am going to my Father and your Father, my God and to your God." He is now in the Father, sitting at his right hand. Jesus himself told in Luke 24 verse 25 that, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken." Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. Even to them he told to see him in the scriptures. We can see Jesus only through the scriptures, and that is the wish of Jesus as well. Nowadays we run after all these messages which is on the internet, such as the real face of Jesus on the Holy Shroud of Turin. The statue of Jesus' eyes have opened, blood shedding on the eyes of Mother Mary statue, etc. It may be true or not, Jesus wanted us to see him on the scriptures. We can see the real picture of Jesus only by reading the Bible. If you really want to see Jesus, for sure we can see him by reading the scriptures, that how he was compassionate to the poor and broken-hearted. He is almighty and all-powerful even today, that we can get favor and be blessed. Hope you got the real image of Jesus. See you next time with another video. God bless you all.